Hi everyone, welcome back to the Fatherly Edition. Today we are with Laze, if I'm pronouncing right. And it's a real pleasure to have him here today. We met last year at the Education Design Conference, and of course he's into design, visual communication, graphic and advertising. Is one foot is in practice, another one we can say is in pedagogy. Is working at a university. So I let you the stage to briefly introduce a bit yourself, and then tell us how you changed between 2005, let's say, before your daughter born, and after. How you see yourself now.
Hello to everyone, Tommaso. I really appreciate your invitation and this inspiring idea that you have, because we rarely have an opportunity to discuss about our main priorities and our main job in our life. It's fatherhood, aside from our passion, which is called design and teaching. So I'm Laze Tripkov. I'm graphic designer. I did my master's in Warsaw, and I stayed there for a couple more years. So when I returned to Macedonia in 2004, I started to work in marketing agency, where I met my wife, and it was my wife to be. It was really a love at first sight. So 1 year after that, my daughter was born. And really, it was a moment that struck me, and I never believed that I will have a sensation that will be so strong, having an opportunity to hold something, another soul, that by looking in the eyes of that new being in your life, that you would see yourself. And that was the most influential moment over me, and of course that reflected my work a lot. I became more inspired. I had more passion to do. I thought that I could do everything, and in those 2 years, from 2005 to 2007, I was working in a marketing agency. I was having a lot of freelancers, and my daughter was really the passion that pushed me upper in the scale, and yeah, I couldn't wait to go out on a break and to come home. I couldn't wait to finish my work to go home. So that's amazing feeling, really.
It's fantastic how you describe that. It's quite tangible, the description. Like you make a painting while describing the scene. I can visualize in my eye what you just described. It's beautiful. And so if I can ask, how you think the father changed from your parents' generation to somehow our generation? There is anything you want to from your experience?
I was born in a country that used to be called Yugoslavia, and it was a very huge, actually, country. I was 14 years old when all this ugly situation started in our big country, right? Yugoslavia was a federation of 6 republics. And I remember that in that time, the fatherhood was practically something that carried out more like patriarchate, carried out the family, and the main role was to carry out, to bring it, to provide. I mean, that is how the society was set up. And there was also something that was called the Tito law. Sorry, I have to mention this, but this is very interesting and intriguing, because he said you have to work 8 hours in a day, 8 hours to rest, and 8 hours to sleep. And that was a concept that everyone was implementing. So the working day was starting at 7 o'clock. So we had I was seeing my parents only after the lunch, couple more hours. Then they would do something and arrange. I mean, everyone who is a parent knows what kind of responsibility it carries, but also society is something that brings a new situation in the struggles that you have to be dealing with, right? So all of a sudden, from some kind of socialistic movement, we pass to a democracy and liberal capitalism, and then the struggle and striving for life and chasing for job was very difficult for everyone. So it happened, the transitional process, and I must say that all the depression and all the sensations that we felt from that moment, and I was a young teenager, was really very complicated. And I could see in my father's eyes, you know, that he lost his job, he couldn't work anymore where he worked, you know. So all of a sudden you entered in from one position that you are provided well, right, to a position that you really have to help or erase your feelings and feel the new coming time. So maybe this reflected me a lot when I was starting my family, because I'm feeling all of this on your back, right? The possibility to sense the life that generally can be brutal in one moment. I tried not to impose a similar situation to my kids, even though we were vastly capitalistic, and I working in Poland in a marketing agency, that then coming here, you know, you understand the concept that you have to work. There is no 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest, and then 8 hours of sleep, right? So from my childhood and your question, which is really very sensational for me personally, it can be easily described that you felt the roughness of the new age, of the new world. So practically your job as a father, carrying out all the responsibility but also emotion, all of a sudden is breaking your time. Instead of 8 hours of work, you have to work sometimes 12 hours, 13 hours. And what is the time left to spare the life? But I think that we managed. We all had to manage. I mean, especially my generation starting this high school was having a lot of difficulties, but overall I think that it just made us more stronger and to face the challenges that were coming. And the kids practically carry out a huge responsibility. We have a saying here: small kids, small problems; big kids, big problems. And you have to find a way. And I must say that maybe at the beginning it was for me very difficult to arrange things. You know, I had to write everything and then plan stuff. But now it's much more easy, and it's really beautiful.
Now become more natural. Before you need to plan, at least think about what can be, probably after several years already. So everything become more smooth in the way, because you know how to approach, what can be the reaction.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
Yes,
it's interesting to know the story and to see that somehow probably our generation lives this sort of uncertainty. Because even our job, before the job was, you start a job when you are 18 and you finish when you are 60 plus. Now it doesn't exist anymore. So
true.
Somehow we transmit how to survive, to serve somehow this new way of living. Somehow we need to transmit to our kids without transmitting the negative effect or negative side of me. Hyper cautious, so be cautious, but at the same time living the life for what it is. You know, without be crazy about too many things. As you say, society bring you to a certain position and give you certain pension, or has a certain expectation. So we need always to find a way to balance things. So thanks for bringing up those items to the discussion. So another question I would like to ask you, we briefly discussed earlier. So what do you think that the fathers struggle with in this moment? Do you think there is any society preconception about fatherhood that you think we need to push back or to break somehow? Something particular touch you?
Yes, I found a strong relationship with my daughter regarding my work and her new passion. Actually, she started to draw when she was 9 months old. And this was really surprising for me because I didn't know that it wasn't pushy. It wasn't that she would see me that I draw, because most of the time when we were together, I was either sending some emails or working in a computer, and I would hold her and we would watch something. So that was really surprising for me. And when she started to walk, then we bought a table and chairs, tiny one for kids, for after toddler period, right? And she was there and she would draw, even she would fall asleep, and this was so amazing for me, you know. Then I started to understand the ideas that and the huge manifestation and sensations that for example Pablo Picasso said in his age that he would love to go back and start drawing as a kid. Or what my idol in poster design, Henryk Tomaszewski, was doing all the time, you know, with this kind of practically very naive association. Then it struck me, you know, what I learned from theory of graphic design about the basic symbols, the shapes, the circle, the triangle, and the rectangle. You know, all of a sudden I could see a construct, and practically you're going out of the limitations of the matrix that is imposed to you, or the schablon that you are, and all of a sudden you're seeing the practical part, and you say, oh my god, I mean, this is the purity, this is the cosmos. I mean, everything is there and there is nothing, but you can construct a fantasy moment just by looking at that, and she cannot explain it, but she can draw it, right? And you say that really how this creativity and the pureness of the mind, right? We didn't spoke to them. We didn't say what is good or what is bad. We didn't teach them. The system didn't teach them how to talk or how to engage. You know, everything is open. So I think that these ages from the moment that they develop some kind of specifics and mimicry, basically on copying, right? The parenthood, their surroundment and everything. And when they start going into primary school, all of a sudden they learn what not to do, but they don't teach them what to think or how to solve basic human issues or problems. They impose them situation and they said, you have to stop here, don't ask this you cannot. And I think that more involvement of creativity and I think that artistic projects that can involve both parents and kids can really emerge into something much more beautiful. And as you mentioned, when before we started, we talked, you mentioned about the book that you have, right? I couple of posters with my daughter, you know, and I'm really happy about that, because that is the moment that I remember, and she was taken to every exhibition that I either organized or I had, or those are the moments that I really think that can help repair somehow the system.
Fantastic. So thank you. And I agree with you. And I think on this point we can underline the fact that when we talk about art expression, it's not just because we want our kids to be an artist, right? But the idea is to explore media, for instance, color, shapes, and then this became part somehow of the background mind background, and then once they grow up, they are free to do whatever. But at this age, if they are free to interpret, to create their own universe with that, and we allow them to not say, without say, oh, you can't use this color because that's doing this, or without limit them, that will allow them just to see the world, as you say, without expectation, but with a very special eyes. And if they are lucky enough, they can bring up when they are adult with.
Yeah,
that's how
I keep all of her drawings.
Same here. That's I think it is fantastic. It's the best archive that any parent can have. So better than any picture or portrait, because the drawing are really say many things, and you can read it with many layers. I think once you see again and you watch again, and you age, and the drawing is still there, but for you the meaning maybe is slightly different every time you see them. Thank you. That's beautiful. And one important thing is when we talk about the job nowadays, how your job allow you to spend quality time with your family?
I must mention that that the role of the wife is, especially with the artists around, is very important. I mean, she carries out sometimes the biggest burden in the family because of our jobs that are really responsible. And I remember when I was working and I would have got some kind of invitation, and my last invitation duration period was 5 years working in Montenegro. So it all started from let's open a faculty there to would you stay and be dean there. So it was a time that, you know, I was spending most of my days there. I didn't had a lot of chance. My son, who was born 2010, was only 3 years old when I practically moved to Montenegro, and then I felt like father on an official trip. You know, you would go, and I wasn't that much involved in their lives. Of course, when you would come, you would spend the quality time maximum here, but it would be 1 week, then you would have to go again there. We didn't move to Montenegro because in that period my daughter had some health issues, and for us the best situation was to stay here and to provide certain medical visits, etc. Yes, that period was really complicated. It was a huge burden, you know, but those are the spots of your weakness that can make you stronger in the way how you will deal. And in one moment you always ask yourself, why do you do that, you know? But at the end, and this is the cruelty. This is the cruelty of the system, totally, because it doesn't ask you, right? It doesn't says any kind of human solidarity in this. It just forces you to indulge more into your routine, and you say in one moment, okay, what are you doing? I mean, and yes, when you come back, when you go back to some kind of normality or normal functioning, again you're getting in the rhythm, again you're entering in the same values. Yeah, but comfortness is that they're close, right? So the complexity of the question is personal, right? From personal perspective, and everyone would ask it probably in a different way. You have to put the things, you know, and measure it, and measure the parentness,
find the way,
the balance. Yes, it's very difficult. I mean, it's very difficult and it's very complex. And I would again make a comparison with my parents. If they would change a job, then the society would say, "Why are you changing? You cannot be satisfied." Right? It's like some kind of a system fault that they would understand. But we are forced to change things, right? We are forced to change even jobs to find the suitable engagements, what's appropriate for us. It's not building a capacity or building your CV. I mean, you're chasing just an interest moment, and I know that in environment is something that always pushes you to be yourself and to be more, and there are environments that make you more attached, that certain things would go out of your habits or possibilities. I don't want my kids to be dealing with these issues, but I know that they would, because from all the influences that they are, from all the media that they are influenced by, and from all the segments that they consume on daily basis, practically they're entering and they're slowly understanding the concept that work is important, you have to work more, and probably that comes within ages that you realize that, okay, you have to calm down, leave the horses, put them in the barn and just focus on something that brings much joy. And then you understand that your kids are already grown up and they don't want to spend so much time with you. And then you have another issue, which is another inspiration. Okay, let's work something together. Let's go in the garden. Let's go to some kind of school activity or sport activity. And I'm really glad that I have plenty of time available now. And I have plenty more time because I became more experienced, not because there is more time for me. It's the same hours, but the experience really helped me in dealing with the challenges.
That's positive to hearing that, because I was interviewing another father that he just had a baby, so a few months ago. And of course, he's a bit desperate how to cope and deal with society expectation, living abroad, and make his own schedule, stay with the own kid, and still making the breads, let's say, for the family. So, as you say, the only experience, there is no shortcut in all this. The only things you can do that is doing things and try new things without too much pressure from society, because society will be always there to pressure you in a way or another. And I think, as you say, our kids will learn that they will have pressure anyway, but as they see us, how we react to this pressure, they will learn their own way to deal with it. Probably, hopefully, they will be better than us, because we are in sort of transition from static. Now, for instance, from the job point of view, we moved from one job for life as be capable to adapt to the situation. So I hope these sort of be elastic, be fluid, will help them for the society to be. So at least this is our hope. I hope for the kids, for the new generation. That's probably why we are one step into education. So one last question I will ask you: what is the biggest experience? What you earned by spending time? What is the big things you learned by spending time during the lockdown, for instance, or stressful situation? One of the stressful situations you've been.
It was very stressful. It was. I yesterday spoke with my student, and I was showing them some propaganda. We're talking about communication and advertising and propaganda, how it works regarding different situations. And then in one moment I stopped I showed them a poster of Scope, one medical magazine from America, how to force people to understand that polio vaccination is very important. And those were amazing images, really. Those were very emotional communication, that tackled the emotion of the human, the solidarity. And we spoke about that. We didn't have, it was very rough, everything that was communicated to us. And the whole situation, the way the whole panic, I think it made us much more closer. But also in the same time, living in one flat, if any of your family would got infected, then you start the separation. I mean, this was from this perspective, really, this was so terrifying. I mean, it was, I didn't know what we were doing. We were so much afraid about ourselves. And even you put you go and isolate yourself, and without emotion or talk, or with putting just the foot in front of the door. I mean, it's totally crazy. I mean, it's totally silly, it totally ruins the concept of a family, of sharing, of caring, of dealing with the struggles in the same way, because they were calling us. They were calling us to ask us, police would come to the door. I mean,
Check.
Yeah, and you watch the movies, and you really, you have a feeling that you're really doing the same movie. I mean,
You are in the movie, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's totally crazy. I'm vaccinated, my wife is vaccinated. I did it for the sake of all of us,
Right.
But this situation was really terrible, and I thought that what came afterwards was even much more shocking, because the generations that come during COVID or come after COVID, they're having very serious problems, and activity, they were short enough of any kind of social activity. Their social activism would be through social media, which doesn't share anything social. And but to us personally, it helped a lot as a family. When there was a possibility, we would travel together. We would go anywhere together for a weekend, or staying in a house of a relative, or anywhere, when you have a nature. So I'm sure not aware, and I don't feel comfortable in saying some things, but I think that the results of this, we would feel it in couple more years from now. And my daughter, she's 17 years old. She's much more aware than my son, and I can sense that the way how she perceives things is much more logical and much more normal, in a way that what responsibility carries. But my son, if they weren't the sport activity, then probably it would affect him in a different way. And I try to engage them in drawing and stuff like that. And everything, I remember that everything that we spoke about, or everything that we drew in that time, or they drew, was about staying alive. And that's shocking. I mean, it's terrifying.
It is.
It's totally terrifying. I mean, really, it's very complicated. It's very, very emotional question, for me personally, because I really would like to forget all the imprisonment from that period and just remember what brought in a positive way. That we saved the planet. I mean, we didn't save the planet. That we caused some change. No, all of a sudden no one speaks about that. I mean, this was, I don't know.
Yeah, as you
I would
said,
have,
probably will take more years to understand really in deep what happened. I mean, what happened, we know what happened. What happened to us, to the other generation. I saw my daughter was almost 2, and basically for 2 years she was wearing the masks. So then there are many kids that are affected because to breathe with the mask for so long when they're at that age, for them is a normal things how they perceive the words. So I think we can close here with your beautiful words and your very passionate conversation. I would thank you again for your time today, and we hope we have another chance to discuss about all those topics. And again, see you soon. Thank you. Grazie.
Thank you. It was a huge pleasure. I hope that I managed to bring more the father challenges, and really your initiative is fantastic, and I'm looking forward to hearing some good news from you, and maybe this can become a huge, bigger series, and maybe someday in person.
Why not? Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Goodbye. Bye-bye.